Hi there, I'm Patience. I'm one of the physical therapists at our outpatient center in Orleans, and today I'm going to talk about some common gardening-related injuries and some tips on preventing them so you can avoid getting sidetracked with an injury. So back injuries are probably the most common garden-related injury we see. Gardening involves a lot of bending, lifting, twisting, pulling. So as you're moving through those activities, you want to think about keeping a nice straight back. So you're going to stick your bottom out, bend at your hips, bend at the knees, bring objects nice and close to you, and then use your legs to power back up. If you're taking mulch or soil out of the trunk of your car, bring it nice and close to you, and then pivot, moving your body with it so that you're avoiding twisting on straight legs. If squatting is uncomfortable for you, or maybe you have troubles with your balance, using a gardening bench can be a good alternative. But keep in mind here, you still want to keep a nice straight back, bending at your hip and avoiding using a real round back. These also work great as kneelers. If you're kneeling on two knees, it's a little bit easier to keep a round back. So coming up on one knee can be a better way to keep a little bit straighter back. Just make sure that you're alternating from side to side. If you're carrying heavy buckets of water, buckets of compost, avoid always using the same side because that's going to, over time, create some muscle imbalance, so switch from side to side. Raking can be kind of a provoking activity for a lot of people with back pain. You want to make sure that every so often when you're raking that you stop, straighten up, and rotate towards the opposite direction just to kind of counteract some of that repetitive motion that you're doing. There's a lot of different styles and varieties of raised beds out there, so take advantage of those to help minimize how much bending you're doing. If you're doing a lot of container gardening, use a potting bench. I just kind of jerry-rigged this one with a piece of plywood over my wheelbarrow, and then I can move it around the yard and keep things up a little bit higher so I don't have to bend as much. If you have a lot of planters that you move back and forth from season to season, choose materials that are a little bit more lightweight. You can also put more lightweight planters inside heavier ones to make it a little easier to move them around. If you have a large planter, you can fill the bottom with, maybe bottom third up with some foam packing peanuts, then put your dirt on top of that, and that can help keep things a little bit lighter. And then always make sure that you're waiting to water them until they're in their final position so that you don't have to lift a heavier watered pot. You want to use long-handled tools that are going to help keep you up a little bit straighter as well. Another common site for injury is the wrist and hand. So insect bites, blisters, thorn pricks can all be a source of infection. So it's best to wear gloves. Leather gloves, the ones that come to your forearm, are great, especially if you are working with thorny plants, pruning roses and such, to help keep you better protected. There are lots of different varieties of ergonomic hand tools. There are round handles, there are forearm strap handles, there are custom grips. One isn't necessarily better than the other. It's whatever is more comfortable for you. So I encourage people, go to your local garden center, try different ones out and see what feels best to you. You do want a grip that's a little bit wider and that has a non-slip grip is preferable, just because that is less work that your joints and muscles have to do. When you're pruning, you want to make sure that you're using the correct pruner for the task that you're doing, the right size loppers for any trimming that you're doing as well. You want to make sure that you're keeping your wrist nice and straight. So you're going to avoid bending the wrist down this way. That's going to put a little bit more load on your thumb. And you're going to avoid bending your wrist and clipping in that position, which is also going to put a little more load on the wrist. So you're going to keep a nice straight wrist as you're doing your pruning. And then another potential injury is neck and shoulder. So especially if you're doing any sustained overhead hedge trimming using a pole saw, you want to make sure that your shoulders aren't shrugging up towards your ears, and that every so often you're bringing your chin down towards your chest just to counteract staying out of this position for a long period of time, which can be stressful on the neck and shoulder. So those are a few tips. Stay safe, happy gardening, and I hope Mother Nature is good to you.